and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom, and in this video we're going to be looking at the third book of the Guardians of, I'm going to mispronounce this throughout all of these, Ga'Hoole. So this is by Kathryn Lasky. Please see the previous couple of videos that's talking about this book series, because otherwise this isn't going to make any sense. So this is The Rescue. This is book 3, and in this book, Soren, our main character, is out to try to find his missing teacher. So, Elizabeth Rib, I'm going to mispronounce that name too, who basically was the head of his grouping, who were basically weather owls, and they collected fire from wildfires for the forge and to use in cooking food at the Ga'Hoole tree where they live. So he kind of interacts with the nest snake that's normally takes care of both his teacher and then one of the great singers, who's a snowy owl of the tree. And there's a comet going on, and basically it's kind of dark omens. Him and his group get stuck with a hiding in a forest, waiting out a hurricane, essentially. The current leader of the group is not as knowledgeable or as well regarded as the previous teacher. This is the second in command. So he's a little spooked out by this place, and you have these check notes. Here, check notes, because I did this a little while ago. Basically what amounts to be ghosts. So they're called shrooms that hang out in this forest. So they hang out on the ground. When Soren is awake, his parents come to him and essentially say they want him to be, to look out for this metal beak. It's like they're stuck because they're worried about him. They're possibly worried about his sister, who's back at the Ga'Hoole tree, and they're warning them about this metal beak. So they get back to the tree. He's suspicious. He wants to find out this information. He gets a little bit more information about a rogue smith, which is essentially a rogue owl smith. So during one of these festivities where they finish harvesting all these berries, essentially, from the tree, him and his friends, in this case, his regular friends, Griffey, Twilight, and Digger, his sister is supposed to come with them, but Soren must pretty much say, it's like, you're too young. Your flying isn't very well yet. You're not old enough. You told this other person. And it's like, you guys are just too young right now. So they go off and find this other owl. Turns out it's a snowy owl. It's a female smith. She's turned black because she's a smith. And she tells them, it's like, I don't deal with the whole metal beak. But she does reveal a couple pieces of information. One, she's the sister to the singer of the Ga'Hoole tree, which is part of their family generation. And she knew their teacher as a great warrior in the past. She's also aware of the snake. So you kind of get a little bit of background of the singer and how she herself left because their stepmother was pretty nasty to her. Turns out, I believe she killed her stepmother just because her stepmother turned on their family, essentially. So, and revealed them to other people, because their tribe, besides being great singers, were also great warriors, as was this other teacher's family. So they go back, they get in trouble because because Twilight was supposed to, he'd gotten in trouble with one of the other teachers, and he was supposed to deal with owl pellets. So they get in trouble, and essentially they're sentenced to be dealing with owl pellets for a while. And the head of the owl parliament, they kind of know what they're up to, and they're just not kind of interfering. So later one night, Soren goes to, with, I believe, Griffey, to investigate their teacher's office. And they run into the snake, who kind of takes care of both their teacher owl and, of course, the singer, because she's known them. And she reveals kind of his backstory, how he had been a great warrior, how he had fallen in love, but his brother had betrayed them. He had been married to another owl, but his brother was jealous because he was in love with her as well. So you have a kind of, I wouldn't say a love triangle, because she obviously did not love him back. She married their teacher. Strange sounds of cats into trouble. But so essentially he links in with this other tribe of owls, and the owl that he was in love with is killed. And that's when their teacher, he bit off one of his claws. And he goes to join with these other academic owls. And he becomes a poet and a scholar, and eventually they send him to the gung-hole tree, along with the snake, who, because she was so worried about her friend going crazy, because he had recruited her. You find out the backstory of this snake, how she didn't used to be blind, and she had been kind of a wayward child. Didn't really care, was very much rebellious, and was recruited into being by him, basically given by her parents to him to train her in military tactics. And she took to it very well. She was very close to him and his wife. And so she goes with him. And they're basically, when she sees him essentially going crazy because his wife has been killed, she gets her eyes plucked out by another owl. And because she wasn't paying attention. So she goes with him. They eventually send him, and then she goes with him to the gung-hole tree because his knowledge is better to be shared. So that's what happened. He used to be, and he became a pacifist. So they figured out all of this. So they decide, okay, we have to go and find out. Soren's obsessed with trying to find out who this metal beak is. So him and Griffey go back to their basically their rooms where their group is, including his sister. Well, his sister been having nightmares. She finally remembers what they are. She finally remembers where she had been taken. They were in remnants of a human castle. So this is where this book series gets a little apocalyptic. Humans are gone. They existed in this world at one point in time, and now they're gone. It doesn't give an explanation. But the ruins of their castles and gardens and walled gardens are present. So she had been taken by this group of pure ones. They had been kidnapped with a bunch of other barn owls, specifically. And they were the pure ones. They were better than everybody else. They wanted to conquer everything. And essentially they're put underground to kind of get rid of their memories, so to speak. So stone blinked is what they call it, similar to moon blinked. But because her and the other owls in her group, these young hatchlings, liked music, there were issues with them. And then they were attempted kidnapped by the owls of St. Agnes. So the school that had kidnapped Soren. And then there was a big battle between these two separate groups of owls, and a lot of the young owls essentially were dropped. They were dropped on the ground, and they went and hid. And they'd been traumatized by their experiences and didn't remember a thing. And now she remembers everything, and how essentially they were being trained to do something and to be part of this army where they are the purest of them all kind of thing going on. So they try to, as a group, they want to go confront these other owls. So they go off to investigate this castle. So where she had been found, eventually they find it. And then they're attacked. Now it turns out their teacher had been kidnapped. And only these pure ones didn't know who the heck he was. And so, cat playing with toys at my door. But back to the story here. They're attacked. Eventually it's revealed that they had this big metal beak who'd had his beak ripped off in a battle is Soren's brother. So the one who essentially tried to kill him. So that's who it's revealed to be. So this is his brother. He somehow survives. They're able to free a lot of the people, particularly their teacher, who's been stone blinked using fire. Basically, they start a forest fire, essentially. They use sticks with fire on them, And eventually, once these owls can look at this, they're snapped out of it, including their teacher. So the other owls don't realize who he is. They don't realize how powerful he was and what a legend he was. And he basically solely forgetting things. And he remembers everything, and they kind of go home. And Soren is, along with his sister, grappling with the fact that their brother is the head of this group, who somehow survived despite the fact that Soren dropped a piece of coal in his metal mask. And yet somehow he was able to fly away and get his people. So it's very, very interesting. It's very weird. That is how essentially it ends with this teacher writing a poem about Soren and his brother. And that's how this book ends. They were able to get him back. So this is a very interesting book. It's another continuously part of the story. You get some more background. You realize there are two enemies here. You have the St. Agnes, and then you have these metal beaks, these pure ones who are very much, we should rule the world and everybody else is beneath us kind of thing. So now that's the introduction. Of course, you also find out what happened to Soren's brother. And you still don't, and obviously his parents are dead. So you kind of get closure there. Some of the others of his friends say, it's like, yeah, we kind of realized our parents are dead. I think one of them, my parents came to me in one of the fires and they just said, we know you're safe. And that's it. And they were able to move on. So it's a very interesting tale. You get the apocalyptic kind of sense that either human beings existed in this area and they just don't exist anymore. It's very possible that they're deep in the forest and human beings are just somewhere else. And this is where they have castle ruins and things. So it's a very, very interesting addition to this continuous series. So you're starting to get some of the players in place of eventually a final showdown. I think the last book in this series, I'll go down here, is The War of the Ember. And then it looks like they have The Rise of a Legend, which I think is a prequel. Might be a prequel. So again, I'm reading these as I'm recording them. So I don't know the full story. But this is a great book into the collection. So if you like what you see, like and subscribe. Comment if you have one. I am covering the entire series. I've covered a couple different book series. I've been covering some Tamora Pierce stuff. I covered the Princess Diaries. I cover a wide variety of children's books, family films, more educational stuff. We're a homeschooling family, a secular homeschooling family, so we're not religious. We did it for various reasons. So I will be adding more educational stuff as time goes on. But be sure to check out the rest of my reviews. I have quite a few book reviews, a lot of film reviews. I'll be adding all sorts of educational stuff as, again, my child is relatively young right now. By the time you guys see this, she'll be about 3, so we might have more stuff coming in this coming year at the time I'm shooting this. It is December of 2021. So this will be coming out when is this video coming out? 2023, like middle of 2023. Yeah, I filmed this far ahead. You guys should be seeing this in this summer of 2023. Yeah, I'm pretty far ahead, but it varies. Book reviews are kind of easy to do en masse. So again, like and subscribe if you like what you see. Check out what I've got. Thank you.